Hello everyone, AMHarbinger here, and if you've been keeping up with my channel, you've noticed I've been playing a lot of Medan for the first part of the Dark Pictures anthology. It's a good horror game, although you have to throw out a lot of logic if you want to be entertained by it. Medan stars 5 characters, 4 friends, Brad, Julia, Alex, and Conrad, who are looking for buried treasure and the captain they've hired to take them on this dive-in area named Fliss. Each one of the characters are introduced with their core personalities, such as Fliss being courageous or Brad being innocent. What makes Medan excel is that these characteristics are the foundation of these wonderful characters, but they're not absolute, with each character having specific relationship meters that grow or fall depending on what choices you make, sometimes altering them in the long run, either being trusted or angered towards one another. The core story has you locating a hidden WW2 wreckage not charted by anyone. Unfortunately, this raises a few red flags. Fliss runs the risk of losing her livelihood, but the entitlement of the friends along with her being in dire need of the money makes it hard for her to follow proper procedure. In addition, the game does a great job providing additional context into the characters and environment with detailed collectibles. When you eventually reach the WW2 warship that has appeared in all the promotional material for this game, much of its history is told through these collectibles. There's a short tutorial that gives you a look at what happened before the events of the core game, but the optional collectibles provide a much more detailed look. There also open new dialogue options as the characters attempt to understand what happened in this giant floating coffin. What makes Medan excel is the dialogue and branching paths. No one is safe, and the story will continue regardless of who is alive or dead. Despite having control of some of the characters, you don't have control of all the characters all the time. You're given control of one character at a specific time during each parts of the game. No one character is given special treatment, and they all feel like they're the protagonists of this overall narrative. The web-like narrative has a lot of options, but there are also helpful paintings that provide details into the future, sometimes showing critical life and death situations in a cryptic vision. However, once you complete the entire experience, much of the narrative can be destroyed by basic logic. I can't say what this is without spoilers, but if you have a small understanding of basic science, the entire narrative begins to fall apart. Unlike Until Dawn, another fantastic game from Supermassive Games, which has somewhat of a steady edifice to it, much of Medan requires you to toss out logic completely. When you're not altering the character's choices, you'll be performing QTEs and exploring the environment. Exploration is usually limited to a linear area, and the character's movements are very annoying. All of them are hard to control, especially when you're walking through doors. The QTE events are reasonably paced and not overused. You don't have to input a command for every action like in other narrative games, and gone are the frustrating motion controls. Personally, I hate when developers use the PS4's touchpad and motion controls, so I'm glad none of that is here. Since Medan is a multiplayer game on PC and Xbox One, instead replacing these motion controls and gesture controls are button-timed minigames, which are much more reasonable. The QTEs are what you expect. Input a face button command at the right time. More focus is put on the narrative instead of these, which is great, but when they do pop in at random times, they make sure that you're paying attention instead of slumping back into your seat and relaxing. The major actions you'll be performing is decisions. All of them are timed and usually include 3 options. You can go the entire adventure without saying anything, which I did and have a video for in the description below. The story keeps going, and this encourages replayability as you explore the various ways the story can end. You can select certain chapters when you complete the game, and you can save those into different files to explore alternate choices, which is great, but you can't skip cutscenes and you can't name your files, which can be a little frustrating, especially if you have 5 or more files. Some of the major choices has you choosing between 2 options. Unlike other narrative games where this serves as critical turning points, some of these are subjective. Not all of them are serious, which takes you for a loop. There is also a multiplayer option where you can play online with 2 players or locally with 5 players. In the online mode, you can't see what the other player is choosing, and in local play, you just pass the controller. It's a cool idea, and I found it a bit enjoyable when I was playing online with a friend, but it's not necessary if you don't want to explore it. But I give Supermassive kudos for attempting this type of gameplay feature. The soundtrack for Medan isn't memorable, but it does set a great tone in terms of the actual sound design. Noises and slight changes in the sound help set the mood, with classic horror movie sounds used to amplify scary situations and jump scares. The graphics do a great job of setting the entire environment. Everything from the character models to the environment itself is intricately detailed, with the characters' voices matching the facial patterns of each of their actions, where you can tell when someone is uneasy, annoyed, happy, or hopeful by simply looking at them and the tone of their voice matching that. It's very well done, and the sound design team did a fantastic job. During my multiple playthroughs, I did encounter some major issues at random times. The most predominant was when I was using binoculars during the beginning part of the game to look at the ocean. It would cause the camera to get stuck after pointing them down, forcing me to restart the entire game. During the finale, the sound would usually get cut out, and I can't show it for the sake of spoilers, but it was extremely upsetting when the sound would just cut out while I was recording, having me to replay the entire section again. And since you can't skip cutscenes, it can take a couple of minutes before you get to the situation you need to. Medan is a great start to this Dark Pictures anthology. It has a strong set of characters, dark settings, and plenty of reasons to go back and try other outcomes. The unsettling tone provides that tension-filled atmosphere that horror gamers love, and the idea that anyone can die keeps you focused. I did wish there was a way to skip certain sections when trying new routes or even name your file, but these are small complaints. I do hope that in the next installment that Supermassive improves the character movement and walking speed, as it was incredibly slow for them to get from point A to point B, and getting through doors was just incredibly frustrating. Either way, for $30 you have a densely packed narrative-driven horror game that will keep you busy for days, especially if you try to find all the collectibles and try the various different routes that are available to you.